title for this episode intrigue you? I can guarantee if you are hungry right now, you're going to only be more hungry by the end of this episode. It's 5 actionable seafood meals with Ben Hohnke. He comes back on the podcast. Ben is the bespoke craftsman, the spice master, the mix master over at Hohnke Outdoors. And we're sort of celebrating Hohnke Outdoors coming on board as a sponsor with a unique discount code for you frothers just to get your hands on some of the awesome goods that Hohnke Outdoors offers. It's just made by people like you and me in Australia. If you are into it, you're going to enjoy Hohnke Outdoors and what they have to offer. Hey, before we get into today's episode with Ben, my frothy old buddy, I've got a couple of quick shout-outs. As usual, they're probably not that quick, but massive call to action this week, AustralianSpearfishing.org. Now, the Australian Spearfishing Association is a bit of a brainchild, but we need involvement from Spearos from all over the country, particularly Australia. AustralianSpearfishing.org has got a survey right now. Basically, the vision of Australian Spearfishing Association is a brand new organisation, not at the moment connected or beholden to any of the existing clubs or hierarchy. So if you have any baggage, just put that to the side. Go to AustralianSpearfishing.org. There's a feedback now, a feedback form. They want to hear what you have to say about establishing a united voice for Australian Spearos. We need a seat at the table when it comes to fisheries management, when it comes to zoning areas. We want to do that in a really clear way. When it comes to international competitions and sending people away, maybe that's something that we want to be a part of. But I think the Australian Spearfishing Association just wants to hear what you have to say. So go to AustralianSpearfishing.org and provide your feedback now. It will help them to create this awesome thing that's going to hopefully help every Spearo at a grassroots level, whether you're whether you are a competitive Spearo or just, you just love getting out there and shooting a feed. This is a lifestyle that we know and love. We need to protect it. We need to do it right. The Australian Spearfishing Association are going to help us to do that. And they're going to work in with everyone else as well. But it's a new thing. So I just encourage you to go and do that. Anyway, I have to evangelize that. It's one of my really good mates is a massive part of it. And I know it's going to do good things. A couple of quick reviews. Donna, absolute legend, Donna. She says 5 stars. What an epic weekend I had at the beginner spearfishing course. Super supportive, fun and friendly environment to learn new skills and knowledge with plenty of laughs and good vibes. A sweet balance of freediving and spearfishing was taught across the weekend, combining the two to become a confident, safe Spearo. Big thanks to Shrek for going above and beyond to give me the most memorable experience and equipping me with the foundation I need to head into the Spearfisher Woman adventure. Highly recommend the spearfishing course. If you're still on the fence, get it. Shrek is an all-round legend. Super kind review. Donna's an absolute legend. Actually, a couple of weeks after she did a course with me, she was back up where she lives in Cairns and sent me a photo with her very first coral trout. And I was just made me grin from ear to ear. Love seeing that. If you are interested in doing a course, go to spearfishingcourses.com.au. Jason had a longer review, but it's a gold one, I got to tell you. He says, I recently had the absolute pleasure of joining the NOOBSPEARO Intermediate Spearfishing course, the Hardline and Beyond. And wow, it was beyond incredible. From start to finish, this experience far exceeded my expectations. I went in hoping to improve my spearfishing skills, and the instructors delivered in spades. Their knowledge, guidance, tips helped me to learn and progress so much in such a short time. It was truly impressive. There's more to this review. Jason really goes deep. Like you've heard 2 paragraphs of a 6-paragraph review. If you want to check it out, type in NOOBSPEARO on Google Maps. It'll come right up. See what other people are saying about the courses, trips and charters. I'd encourage you to check them out at spearfishingcourses.com.au. If you go to spearfishingcourses.com.au/interested, you can register your interest for any and all style of trips that we may we may have on in the future, or ones that we might even plan if we've got enough people interested in doing them. Really encourage you to do that. Hey, I need to get into this episode. We got 5 recipes. But before we do, I want to read out Cameron Smith. He left a kind comment on Daniel Mann's review of 99 Spearo recipes. He says, how good are them fruity ceviches? 99 Spearo recipes has thrown me down that path. Made one with passion fruit, mango, banana, and avo for our Taz Spearo Easter catch and cook comp. Despite having 2 fish in there, I don't think it even lasted a minute on the table. Definitely a perfect summer dish, even when it's cold, wet, and windy, and not summer. It seems these exclamation marks trash fish really work well in ceviches. Love that. That's exactly what I wanted from 99 Spearo Recipes. So if you haven't got a copy, go and do that. It's a really, really good cookbook. It's in every good spearfishing retailer or on NOOBSPEARO.com. Hey, legends, thanks for bearing with me. I know it's a longer intro. Let's get into it. 5 mouth-watering recipes with Ben Hohnke. Here we go. Hey guys, this episode brought to you by Astard Roller Pole Spears. Astard is a brand rooted in craftsmanship and tradition, inspired by the Japanese freedivers, the Armour. Their logo, a hand-drawn star, symbolizes starting from a single point, exploring and returning safely, capturing the essence of their journey and design philosophy. Founded by Adam, who spent 15 years in southern Japan, but originally from West Australia. He has a background in aviation, digital and photography, and him and his lifelong friend Kim, and a mechanical genius herself, founded Astard, which embodies a passion for quality, innovation, and versatility. Check them out at astard.co. They have a roller pole spear that will make your head spin. I'll give you the hot tip. Check it out at astard.co. Use the code NOOBSPEARO. Have free shipping anywhere on the planet. You can't get any better than that. Go to astard.co. Check out their roller pole spear. You need one in your arsenal today. Check it out. Use the code NOOBSPEARO for free shipping anywhere in the world. Some days when you've maybe shot those 4 or 5 fish that you came for, might be time to pull out the pole spear, jump back in and rediscover that passion and learning that you had right at the start of your journey. This is one of the best tools for becoming a better hunter. Check it out, astard.co. Are you US based, looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website, so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends, and if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right, use the code NOOB10, N-O-O-B 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's NOOBSPEARO podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code NOOBSPEARO to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom! Hey, g'day NOOBSPEARO community. Welcome back to another episode. I've got Ben Hohnke. You might remember him from episode 216. He's the founder of Hohnke Outdoors. He's mad into his mountain biking these days. He's lost about, I reckon, I don't know. I'm going to let him fill me in on the details. I reckon at least 20 kilos. Ben and I share a whole heap of values. Like one of them, you know, is immediately evident if you check out any of Ben's socials or any of the Hohnke Outdoors socials. He's all about reconnecting with real food, helping people do that. And like he runs a small business and he's just like one of us, you know, and their values of their company, we value family and time spent outdoors. It's evident in any bit of content that Ben releases. So welcome back to the podcast, Ben.
Thanks for having me back, Shrek. I actually never thought I'd be back on here 2 episodes, but yeah, it's a privilege to be back.
Well, today you and I, we're really celebrating a bit of an ongoing partnership between Hohnke Outdoors and NOOBSPEARO. Your spice rubs are incredibly well regarded. They've been used by a whole bunch of different people and promoted by, guys like Sam and even Ryan Myers has used a bit of it on some of his videos, I think. And like Sam the Wet Mammal, if people want to go and check out him using some of the Hohnke Outdoors stuff. But we're going to talk about today, we're going to do 5 wicked seafood recipes that actually partner up really well with some of the range that Ben has at honkeoutdoors.com. Anything we chat about today will be linked up and in noobspearo.com/honke2, HOHNKE2, because we've already got noobspearo.com/honke from your first episode, Ben. So, guys, if you want to hear a bit more of Ben's full story, I'd encourage you to go back episode 216. We really delve deep into, I guess, some of the drivers that Ben has. But Ben, catch us up. It's been a hot minute since we chatted. It's probably been more than a year, I reckon.
Looking back, I think it's been I think I'm going to say it's been 2 years.
Okay.
It's felt like a year just in, I guess, that post-COVID craziness that's been the last, few years. Yeah, so I think the last time we chatted, Shrek, just after I ran into a mate of mine. I'd only just started mountain biking really like that year, and a guy at the club had just went and completed a 24-hour endurance mountain bike race. It's basically you have a set course and you ride as many laps as you can for time in that 24-hour period. And I thought that's the most nuts thing. And I remember talking to him going, you know what, maybe I think I'd like to do this in, 2-3 years' time when I build up for it. And he sort of looks at me and he goes, there's one close to home next year in Armidale. It's only an hour and a half up the road, and it's actually a world championship event, but anyone can enter into it. And I sort of just made a decision then, and I sort of asked him and said, hey, how long does it take to train for one of these things? He said, realistically, you could get a good training block in 12 to 16 weeks. And I went, well, I've got just under 12 months, so let's get cracking on the plan now and see where we end up. And I think, they end up, like you said in the intro, like with mountain biking and some other exercise and stuff, I've dropped like 25, 30 kilos.
Wow.
I sort of can gain plus or minus 5 kilos if I'm depending on how hard I'm training or what I'm doing. But yeah, that's the thing. So I end up training up for that race and going out with a plan of just slow and steady wins the race. The guy I was racing is actually so much faster than me for the first few laps. And I thought, this guy's got it in the bag, but I'm like, I'm not here to necessarily win. I'm just here to see how long I can essentially mentally push myself for 24 hours. And it turned out halfway through the night, I actually gained the lead, and the other guy had slowed down. He probably went out of the gate too hard and blew up. And
wow.
Yeah, then I end up winning a world championship for my age category. And then I actually did the same thing. They held the world championships then in Canberra this year, and I trained up for that. Actually got sick the week before the race, but still went down. My fitness took a massive dip after getting this random virus, but went out there anyway and stayed on the bike for about 20 hours and still managed to secure first place again for that. So
that's crazy. So you backed
now
up.
I've got 2 of these world championship things for my age group under my belt now. And
that's
it's
cool, man. What an achievement.
Yeah, it's insane to think about, but yeah.
Hold on. It seems to tie in well. Like on your personal Instagram, it says, what does it say here? Pain, suffering, and failure are not obstacles, but opportunities. I think it sounds like you read like David Goggins' Can't Hurt Me, and then you just went straight out the gate and just put it into practice.
Yeah, well, it's a bit like that. Like, I remember listening to his audio book, and at the time, I think I was doing a little bit of running, but I always find get a lot of joint pain, and it's not like I enjoy running, but I feel like it's not great for me. And I was getting into riding, and I was sort of thinking it wouldn't be cool if there was something like those ultra marathons that Goggins was doing, but for mountain biking, and then just so happened to stumble into it. And then,
how does it
cool, close-knit community?
How does it tie in, like having such a high level of fitness like that with spearfishing? Does it correlate? Is there any sort of transferables, like when you get out spearing? Because are you still inland, or have you moved out the coast now?
So that's another thing that's sort of changed recently. Is I have for the last 12 months I've been living in Nelson Bay. And I'll probably be living here for another 12 months, just working on a massive civil infrastructure project in the Newcastle area. So, but I have found that my spearfishing has improved dramatically with losing that bit of weight and that sort of endurance fitness. I used to find after about an hour and a half, 2 hours in the water, I'd always get a leg cramp or something like that. And I don't know whether it was the training and starting to take more magnesium supplements or anything like that that sort of led the cramping to go away. But To put it in perspective, I think when I was right in the deep of one of my training days this year, I went out for about a 60K bike ride in the morning. After I think I'd come off a night shift that got called off halfway through the night because it had rained. So I got up, went for a ride, and then the guy that runs the spear shop in Newcastle, Ryan, sort of put out, anyone want to go for a spear today? I was like, yeah, I'm keen, let's go. And then I went out for like 3-4 hours with him that afternoon after doing a big ride. And yeah, I found like I didn't have any trouble swimming around. I think it was only at the very tail end that I started to get a little bit of a cramp. But nice. It's been a massive day and it was, it's good.
Hey, that's bloody awesome. All right, let's get into talking about Hohnke Outdoors, and we'll get into 5 seafood recipes so everyone's got some no excuses to try hopefully a couple of different ways of dealing with their seafood over potentially this summer break. I mean, this episode's due to come out in February, so people are still like in the southern hemisphere in the middle of summer, and we're like one of the things like you got on board with was 99 Spearo recipes, and that was just the whole idea was to get people out of their comfort zone, cooking some different things and getting out of their wheelhouse of their go-to 2 to 3 recipes, because we all need a bit of variety. It's the spice of life, and I'm talking I'm talking to the spice master, so we better do it. All right, so
it's
you go. Sorry.
I was going to say, it's funny you mentioned that name. I was went for a ride with a guy down here yesterday, and his teenage son had added me on Facebook and had been seeing a heap of my fishing posts and about the spice rubs. And he's like, Dad, you seen like he's like fishing royalty. Have you seen like his spice rubs and stuff? And so they actually came up with a nickname for me, and they've called me the Spice Master. And I only found this out yesterday afternoon when I was riding with them. So when you said it, I was just like internally, I was like, yeah, that's going to be a nickname that sticks now, I think. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So guys, we have actually set up a discount code for listeners too. So it's 20% off with the code NOOBSPEARO. If you go to honkeoutdoors.com, it's HOHNKE outdoors.com. If you grab anything in your cart there, use the code NOOBSPEARO, you get 20% off. We're going to talk through 5 recipes right now. Most of them partner up well with different offerings that Ben has up there at honkeoutdoors.com. So the first cab off the rank, and it's a nice, easy go-to, but I feel like it might sort of change a wee bit with the flavor profile with the spice rub, Ben. It's the Panko Crumb fish tacos. Walk us through how this sort of looks in your household when you make it, start to finish.
Yeah. So this is like our family's absolute go-to summer recipe. Like all my family will ask for this, in-laws, everything. They're like, if we're coming around, you need to have enough fish for this recipe, essentially. So basically start with any sort of decent fish. I like to use flathead, brim, goatfish. I think if you use wirracod, a few different other bits and pieces as well. Just any nice, sort of firm, white sort of flesh fish. And basically you sort of cut it into cubes, I guess, a couple of centimetres each, probably like 3 centimetres long sort of thing.
Like a chicken nugget
into cubes,
sort of size?
I find. Or yeah, probably a touch smaller than like a chicken nugget, I reckon. It sort of depends on, like with flathead, I guess they're naturally a sort of thin, lean strip, skinny strip. So you sort of cut it every sort of 3 centimetres going down the fillet. And what I do with that is I'll cut up the fish. I'll give it a light dusting of Salt Bay, not huge, just a light seasoning dusting. And then you basically have an egg wash, just get an egg and a fork in a bowl and just whisk it up till it's a nice even consistency. And you just then dunk it from that into your egg, then into the panko crumb, and then just fried in a good oil. We use rice bran oil a bit because it's, that high smoke point, sort of decent frying oil, but I'm sure there's other alternatives if you want to go down that track. And then we always pair it with a mango salsa.
Okay.
So basically you just cut up a mango into little like 1 centimeter cubes. Do the same with the tomato and an onion. And then you add in like the juice from a lime and some coriander.
Nice.
I find like works really well. I know some people have that gene that makes that taste like soap, but
Yeah.
we're fortunate not to have that. So we're all about it. And so then and we find the best thing is to get like just some of the store brand, what they call street tortillas. They're essentially just like a mini soft taco. And we normally just heat those up dry in a pan without any oil just to get them nice and warm. And then you just serve that up in there, and you can put a little bit of, say, Kewpie mayo or some Sriracha mayo on top of that as well.
That sounds
for a little
good.
bit, or a little bit of lettuce to fill it out. But like everyone in our family loves that, and we'll eat it all summer and then go off it for the winter and then straight back into it the next summer. So,
right. So instead of using like a light dusting of flour, you're essentially putting the Salt Bay rub, just that's your first layer, egg wash, panko crumb, shallow fry. And one thing I've found with doing this is people like to overcook fish. Like if you overcook like even a panko crumb fish, it just goes dry and a bit lifeless. I love this. It's got to preserve that moisture for me. And then they sound like that. I like it with the mango. What do you, mango salsa or is it mango chutney? What do you call it?
Mango salsa we call it. It's just, it's not, none of the ingredients are cooked. Like it's just like, your tomato, onion, mango, and it's, and a bit of lime juice and a bit of salt in there. It's
perfect.
Yeah.
I like recipes like this too, because you can kind of get the kids involved. Like at some point, and then it gets them active in their, in the food creation process, which then you get more buy-in and more encouragement to actually go spearfishing because they like being part of the cooking process.
Yeah. I've been getting the kids to help out with the panko crumbing or the egg wash, and getting it in the pan. They love it, and been doing heaps of fishing with like my twin girls as well. They've since they've come down the last sort of month or so, we've been going fishing like every afternoon. They're just so keen on it.
That's so cool.
I think the first day, Claire caught like a 47 centimeter flathead, and then Emma caught a couple of legal size brims. So they're absolutely frothing on it. And it's just, it's pretty cool.
It's good seeing them get the bug, And like your family that features throughout all of your socials and stuff. And it's cool just seeing a whole family reconnect and get out of that sort of that awful supermarket consumer industrial food complex that most of us fall prey to because of our busy lifestyles. But it's cool when you can just be a lot more thoughtful and intentional with your food. So that's cool. That sounds awesome. Panko crumb fish tacos. We're going to try and link some of this up if there are recipes available. I'll link them up in today's show notes at noobspearo.com/honky too. But our second seafood recipe, cab off the rank, is also in 99 Spearo recipes. And I think, Ben, you've got a video on your YouTube channel doing it as well, do you? The Chick-Fil-A copycat burgers?
Yeah, so it has featured in a couple or one or two of the YouTube videos, I think, from memory. But basically, I can't remember if I had it in the YouTube video or not. I probably did, but I like to, after you pull the fish out of that pickle brine, essentially, I like to give it the same thing. Give it a light coast dusting of Salt Bay before putting it in the egg wash and the flour mix before frying it. I just find just that like seasoning your protein is always, every recipe, it just works. Just a little bit of seasoning on there is all you need, but it can just lift that dish to the next level from just putting it in flour or egg wash and then frying it. It's just,
So like Chick-fil-A is like an American fast food takeout. I have never eaten one of their burgers. Can you just run me through start to finish how you make them?
Yeah, so basically you get nice big chunks of fish, essentially like imagine like a Macca's fillet of fish patty. That's all I can refer to.
Yep.
So I haven't had In-N-Out as well. I've just shamelessly stolen this recipe from Ryan Myers.
Yeah.
Because he was cooking it all the time on his channel. So you get a piece of fish, essentially that, and then you put it into a container with just pickle juice.
Okay.
I find just like a sweet and sour pickle juice works well, and you can leave it in there for as little as 30 minutes to an hour for a nice, like a fish that would be pretty good eating out of the ocean anyway. Like I think he's done it with jobfish and things like that. So thinking like, your primo eating fish, less time, but I've done it with some freshwater fish and I've left it in there for a day, like overnight. And I found that sort of eliminated a lot of that sort of muddy freshwater taste you can get freshwater fish. So yeah. And then once you've taken out there, obviously the light dusting is Salt Bay, then it goes into an egg wash, then into a flour mix, which is in that 99 Spearo's book. Then the trick there is then you put it back through the egg wash once it's coated in a flour and then back into the flour again. And that one works really well when you cook it in peanut oil. It's just, you get like this fried chicken, crispy goodness. Nice. It's like the ultimate like fast food, but wild food indulgence. It's
if you had kids or people who didn't think that they liked fish, this sounds like a recipe that could give them a bit of a gateway into the seafood world. Because so often you hear, I don't like fish. That's, to me, sounds like a burger that would very gently get them into into sort of the mindset of eating fish again, or trying it at least.
Yeah, and I know all my kids polish those burgers off the first time we made them. And
what else goes on this burger? Do you put a tartare or a dill type creamy sauce on it, or?
So there's, I haven't made this recipe in a while, so it's a little bit out of my memory, but it's again in that 99 Spearo recipes book. But there is like a Chick-Fil-A copycat sauce, and you can actually find that if you Google it. But it's basically got like honey. I think there's mustard, mayonnaise, and paprika, and some other different seasonings in there. You sort of mix that all together, and it's like a really sweet, savory at the same time sauce, and you sort of spread that on your bun, lightly toast the bun, put your fish down, then you can just keep it simple, just throw some lettuce on there, but you can add tomato and different things as well. But yeah,
I'm thinking of
depends
not
on how
like
fussy the people are you feeding, I suppose.
Not iceberg lettuce. What's the other one that's pretty popular? The smaller lettuce, more leafy. I can't remember.
Cos,
yeah, cos lettuce.
Yeah.
That sounds like that would go pair up well with that.
Yeah.
Yeehaw! Welcome to Depth Charge Charters. It's not just functional and simple spear guns that you can rely on from Killshot. It's Depth Charge Charters as well, part of the Killshot family. These guys go out of their way to ensure you have a great time on the water. They focus in and around freedive spearfishing, but you can go lobster fishing, line diving on a freediving. You can do freediving classes and lessons, even up your spearing game with legendary instructors. Check it out at killshotspearguns.com, based out of Isla Morada in the Florida Keys. There's that old chestnut, never drink coffee before going diving. I don't know about you, but I break the rule every time. And once you've had a dog and gun coffee, you might find it hard not to break that rule as well. Dog and gun coffee are specialty beans sourced from the best coffee growing regions from around the world and roasted by proper coffee nerds intent on fueling outdoor nuts like you and me. If you want to give Dog and Gun coffee a crack, I can personally recommend the preloaded drip filters. Open them up, they sit on top of your coffee cup, add boiling water, and then whatever else you like. For me, it's milk and two. Try them at dogandguncoffee.com.au and use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. That's right, use the code NOOB10 to save 10% at dogandguncoffee.com.au. Check it out, legends. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code NOOBSPEARO at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NOOBSPEARO to save 10%. All right, cool. Love that. So we've got the We've already talked about the Panko Crumb fish tacos, the Chick-Fil-A copycat burger, and now we were going to touch on hot smoked fish, Ben. Now, for people that haven't hot smoked fish before, some people think it's quite overly complicated to smoke fish. Like it's amazing to me sometimes how few people have actually hot smoked anything themselves before. Like guys that have smoked anything are just kind of like, yeah, it's easy. But for the people that haven't hot smoked fish before, give us a quick rundown on what hot smoking fish looks like, and give us an idea of time and like equipment requirements if you can.
Yeah, so hot smoking is something that's it's probably intimidating if you haven't done it, but once you've sort of seen someone do it or you just get into it, it's actually not super difficult. It's actually fairly easy. Equipment wise, you can, depending on what type of smoker you got, but like a lot of people have those vertical gas smokers. They're great for it, and even on those, you can take the trays out and vertically hang fish in there as well, like a whole fish.
Yeah.
Smoke them that way. Or the other option, which is how I got into hot smoking, is you can get little like camping-based smokers that run on like a methylated spirits burner, and then you sort of put that burner underneath. You throw some wood chips down in the bottom, which the metho sort of heats up through the steel container, and then your fish is sitting in a rack in there, and then the smoke just sort of circulates. And the cooking times are, if you've just got a couple of like thinner fillets in there, it can be as little as like 20 to 30 minutes, or if it's a decent whole fish, probably up to an hour. But it just depends on times and temps, but it's not. It's a pretty forgiving sort of cooking method as well. Like I find it fairly hard to stuff up, but not saying it's impossible. But it is forgiving. And like when I first came down here for work, I sort of didn't have anything from the house in Tamworth, so I think I jumped on Marketplace and searched smoker and found someone selling one for like $20, which was the place on the drive home. So just went and grabbed that, and then walked across the road, grabbed some Banksia pods off the ground, which are, I guess for the non-Australian listeners, it's a flowering sort of coastal plant, gets these nice big yellow flowers on it. Inside that's like what is left is this wooden pod, and when they're done, they just essentially release seeds and fall on the ground like a pine cone, I guess. And if you get those and you can break them up and put them in the bottom of your smoker, they give a really nice, subtle, smoky flavour it's perfect for seafood.
Nice. All right, cool. So hot smoking using Salt Bay, or you've got another couple of things up there as well. Like you've got a Banksia style salt rub, don't you?
Yeah, so I have I do like a finishing salt that we smoke for like 12 hours with Banksia pod smoke. And so that's like a very uniquely Australian finishing salt. You're not going to get, like, no one has that on the market except for us, as far as I'm aware. So
yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty cool. It's actually out of stock at the moment, but I'll be making some up over this Christmas break. So it should, by the time this episode launches, it'll be back on the store, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it like now. Like you get a smaller container, but like your prices are always going to change. But right now, like you can get a nice little container to give yourself a good idea, and you've only got it there for $10.35. So it's a great way to, have a good play around with smoking fish, I guess. Like, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, you're fine, and it is good. Like, and with that finishing salt, that we just like to use that as like a garnish. Like we use a lot in our own home. Just like if you say steam up some vegetables, run a little tiny bit of butter with them when they're done, and then just sprinkle a bit of that smoky salt in there, and just puts it like a really unique flavour that turns what would otherwise be a pretty boring weekday meal into something you go, oh, hang on, this is really cool. And, it gets the kids excited about eating vegetables as well, because it's,
yeah, like steamed broccoli or steamed, like carrot or something like that. Like that they're relatively plain, and adding something like this, I guess, just gets everyone to sit up and pay attention a bit. Like getting kids to eat vegetables is sometimes pretty challenging too, particularly if you haven't done something Like, I like that idea. So the finishing salt is smoked over with Banksia pods. That'll be up again on Hohnke Outdoors. So back to just smoking for a sec. So we've got our smoker. We've sort of worked out how to do it. Essentially, like you're adding something like either wood chips or something over heat, and that's in an enclosed area. So the whatever you're cooking in there, in our case, largely fish, it's getting sort of covered in this hot smoke, which is cooking the fish and flavoring it at the same time. There's a whole different bunch of modalities. Like I use like pellets, like a pellet, like a bullet from Bunnings. They're like $80 or something. So we've got the setup. We've got our smoker running in the background. Do you like to do a dry brine or a wet brine? Give us a bit of a, what is a brine for a start?
Yeah, so a brine is essentially something you soak your protein in prior to cooking it, and that can be for any length of time, for say a couple of hours or overnight. I find things like freshwater trout, I'll brine overnight before I smoke them. And in a wet brine, you basically get some water and then you put that in some type of non-reactive dish, like not a metal dish, but like say a ceramic or a plastic container or glass. Yeah. Set your fish in it, put water in, and then mix in. It's normally about 4 tablespoons of brown sugar. And what I like to do is a tablespoon of salt and then a tablespoon of Salt Bay for the wet brine. And that's what I'll do. Or if you've got like pretty decent fish, and I've tried this on even trout now as well, I've just been dry brining a lot of it. So if you get like a fillet of a trout or a tailor or any other salt species like that, just sprinkle Salt Bay on it. So just straight out of the packet, pat it on there right before it goes into the smoker, and then just put it into the smoker, and it comes out fantastic.
Nothing else, just the Salt Bay.
Just the Salt Bay.
Oh, that's wicked. I love a dry brine.
But the other thing,
people think like you've got to put good quality fish in a smoker, but like oil content, like high oil content fish or high fat content fish, a lot of like so-called trash fish, they go perfect in the smoker. And I don't know, it just seems to, like out of my beginner courses, we often use like people will shoot blubber lip brim, you know, the brown sweet lip. They're not particularly difficult species, but when you're starting, you're just super stoked to shoot a fairly large size fish and still eat it, you know.
Absolutely.
And a hot smoked blubber lip brim is actually pretty damn good. Like you forget what you're eating. Like if you've been spearing a long time and you've learned not to shoot them, relearning to eat them because someone else is really pumped about shooting it it's kind of a strange journey. But I was out on my last course, and these guys, my brother-in-law Jaden's taken over the hot smoking duties because he's just a gun at it. And I found I used to overdo it and dry it out too much, cook them too long. He's reduced that and really tightened this act up. And he's hot smoking this blubber lip brim, and everyone's eating it, even some of my more experienced assistants and that have been spearing a long time, and everyone was just loving it. And that Salt Bay is generally part of our dry brine wherever we go. Yeah.
And having said that, I did some experimenting. I can't remember if it was before or after our last podcast, but I actually had been out fishing at one of the local dams near Tamworth and caught a couple of carp. And I'd sort of gone out prepared, and I was like, I'm going to try cooking these things again. And actually did a wet brine one with the Salt Bay like we described, and smoked a couple of these carp. And I actually made it into like a smoked fish paté.
Oh, yum.
Which that recipe is in a 99 Spearo thing. And I was absolutely disgusted with how well it came out. Every fibre of my being did not want to eat it. But when I tasted it, I honestly, if you'd have just walked up to me and said, here, have some trout pate or
Yeah.
I would not have known. But it was only because I'd sort of prepped it and made it myself. And even Sarah tried it and was like, this is actually really good. Bit fiddly, lots of bones in carp, but yeah.
I'm one of those guys, like, if my wife and I get to go away and get away from our boys, like, we will go fiendish on, like, pate, cheese, wine, olives, all the rest of it. Find some wicked, romantic lookout and just eat to our heart's content. And pate, they're putting just garbage leftovers of animals in it. But, I mean, it's stood the test of time of pate. Like, it's as I get older, it's something I enjoy more and more and more. I haven't actually made a smoked fish pate, but you've just encouraged me to add that to the list.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worthwhile. The recipe's in the book, and it's not overly difficult once you've hot smoked your fish. And it's fantastic, even for people that aren't used to that. I remember even when I started down on this project, I caught a couple of tailor one afternoon. I hot smoked them here with that smoker I picked up off Marketplace, and sort of took some pate into work, some crackers and stuff, and like everyone had a bit of a crack at it, and it was a big hit in the office. So
that's a guilty pleasure Spearos have, It's feeding people, I reckon. Like,
like I love it. It's sort of a way to relive like the spearfishing like journey, or like, the fishing, the hunting journey, anything you've sort of acquired yourself. I think cooking it and then sharing with people again it's almost as good as being back out there for me. Yeah. I find anyway.
I love it. You get to tell the story of catching the fish as well. Yeah. And people are curious about every aspect of it. And I don't know, there's a real, I don't know if it's part of having there's just a part of our makeup is just entertaining people and feeding people. It's just, it's infinitely satisfying, particularly when you've caught it yourself as well. I don't know about doing it full time though as a job, but it's definitely nice as a sort of one of those things on the side. Like you look at full time chefs, I don't know if I envy them. Anyway, hot smoked fish, love that. Anything else to add with tips for smoking fish? Once you've got the smoked fish left over, straight out of the smoker, it goes so good on bakery fresh hot bread with butter. But if you've got it the next day, you can put it through a pasta, a salad. You can turn it into pate. Like it becomes like another like awesome protein sort of thing that you can use in a variety of different ways. Like if it's in your fridge and you've got leftovers, it's one of those things that goes well on a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, and I find leftover smoked fish normally doesn't happen in our house. It's sort of... Kids love it. I remember smoking up some bonito when the girls were younger, and them just absolutely demolishing it. Yeah. There was just nothing left of it. Like we didn't even get to put it with bread or anything. It just came out of the smoker onto a plate, and it was gone. And that was it. So, yeah.
Number 4 on our seafood recipes is a real unusual one, and I saw it flagged on your social media. I can't remember if it was your Instagram or it was your Instagram. Razor clams. And you've sort of gone further down the rabbit hole of cooking up razor clams, because you were telling me like the first time you did one, you had one and it was more of an opportunistic addition to ramen. But then the second time you've gone out and turned a bunch of razor clams into a finger lime pasta with maybe some foraged mushrooms. Can you walk me through a bit about razor clams?
Yeah, so razor clams are something I'd heard about probably 4 years ago. I was like, oh, that's a big, interesting thing, because apparently in Lake Macquarie here on the New South Wales coast, apparently they banned commercial netting and some other things in the lake and turned into a bit of a recreational fishing haven. I'm not sure how long ago that was. But ever since they stopped that commercial fishing and netting in the lake, this razor clam population essentially exploded in there. And then there was a heap of news articles. Like if you search like razor clams New South Wales, you find articles about people going down to the local jetty, jumped into the water and absolutely sliced their feet right open on one of these things. And we're talking like pretty horrific injuries. People think like someone's been bitten by a shark because there's so much blood in the water. Basically what they are is, if you can imagine like an ice cream cone shape that's rounded on top, and that top edge of it is a razor, and it sort of sticks. They'll stick normally, I guess, like 4 inches, 6 to 7 centimeters out of the ground. And all you can see is just like this, like lip, essentially, it sticks out of the sand with a little tiny gap in it. It's normally the only clue that they're there. But when you actually get a hold of them and wriggle them out, like sometimes they take a little bit of muscle to get out, and you've got to be careful. Like they do have sharp edges as well, so you sort of got to get a careful grip on them, or have, I guess, some spearfishing gloves would be the go if you were actually prepared for it. Once you wriggle them out, some of them are up to they're like 30 centimeters to a foot long.
Yeah.
This gigantic clam thing. And when you look at the actual size of them, there's not a whole lot of yield in there. Like that thing that's a foot long of shell will have, I guess, about a 50 cent, if you're in Australia, size piece of protein in it.
Oh,
essentially,
wow.
It looks like what you get out of it looks exactly like what you would pull out of a scallop. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's the same. Yeah, about an inch thick, about size. Yeah, I guess about 50 mil diameter out of a decent size one. And I find probably a little bit tougher than a scallop, so you just got to be a little bit more careful with the cooking. But taste-wise, I wouldn't even know the difference. It's
right.
Yeah,
that good.
Yeah.
So
I guess I come across
the issue would be carrying them then, because they're such a large animal for such a low yield. You can't crack them while you're in the water. You've got to boil them to get them to open up, I'm guessing, or put them over heat. Is that?
No, you can. I find if I've when I've been out, I normally have like what they call like a keeper bag or a catch bag with me when I'm spearing, or like even if I'm just out fishing with the kids. And if I find them, I'll just sort of shake them out, put them into that bag and carry them back. And then when I get home and I'm sorting out gear, I'll set them in the sink. And I find that after they've been sitting in the sink for about half an hour, they start to open up a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And then once they've opened up, you got to be really careful, but you sort of get a knife down the inside. And a flexible fillet knife is really good for this, because once it's down the inside, you sort of just want to hug that blade right along the inside edge. And once you cut that muscle off, it'll open up like the resistance goes. And then, then you just, once it's open, then you just cut it off the other side as well, because it's attached to both sides.
Yep.
And then, you just pull out your bit of protein. Like, it is a little bit of work, but I've been getting a few from it's a pretty popular swimming beach here in Nelson Bay. And, lots of, my kids swim over there and stuff. And so when I sort of come across them, I'm like, oh man, I sort of feel like a civil duty to remove some of them, because I'm like, some kid's going to come flying through there and then we're whisked off to the hospital to get stitches if they land on them.
So you're getting a feed and
you're a bit of a win-win.
Yeah, you're getting a feed and you're protecting kids. Love it. So you got these razor clams. You get them home. You get them open. You pull out your protein. You've just sort of cooked up some noodles the first time, and then did you just pan fry a bit of razor clam and then throw it through it, or what?
Yeah, so I just had some store-bought, packet ramen. I made that up, and then what I did was essentially sliced a thin checker pattern, about 5 mil spacing on the top, going both ways on top of it, just to open up sort of the protein both sides. Seasoned it with Salt Bay, just a quick flash fry in some butter, and then just on top of the ramen. That was the first time because I only had one.
Yeah.
It was only last night.
That's kind of what you want to do. You just want to experiment sometimes. So you try one, and then it's no good taking home 10 of them, if you don't like them, then you feel like a prick for taking and killing stuff for no reason. But, so it sounds like try it on ramen with one, and then if you like it, then go back and do what you did last night.
Yeah. And then so then earlier in the week I finished the night duty and it was still dark when I got home. So I'd wandered over to this beach with a like a torch and a net to go look for some blue swimmer crabs, because you can occasionally catch them out in the shallows, and I've been looking to get a few of those, and I found one that was undersized and it was a bit of a letdown. But as I was walking through this sort of weedy thing on the low tide, I sort of stubbed my toe on something. I was like, oh, what's that? I was like, oh, razor clam. So I pulled it out, whacked it in the keeper bag, and then within like a 10-meter radius of where I found that one, I found another 3, all pretty decent size. So I just loaded up like my bag with that, and then that was pretty heavy in itself. And I was only cooking for myself this week, so I just took those home. And I've got a finger lime tree at my house that I planted 3 years ago, and it finally got its first fruit this year.
Oh, so good.
So, and we'd been to a Christmas party at another friend that I go riding with, and he's got a little bit of a hobby farm type thing that's also accommodation down here. And he sort of handed us a heap of chilies as our kids were having a look through his garden and getting all these chicken eggs for him and stuff. And so I had all these chilies in the fridge as well. I'm like, oh, well, I've got this finger lime I've pulled off my tree I need to try, and I've got these chilies and I've got these razor clams. So boiled up a bit of pasta, and then just we're same again with the Salt Bay on the razor clams, and just cooked in butter. And then we've got and then I made a bit of sauce with a bit of butter, tiny bit of garlic, cut up the chilies into that, and then put a bit of the pasta sauce back into it to make like a bit of a sauce to go through that pasta.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've sort of taken the pasta, put it in the bowl, drained the sauce back over it, put the razor clams on top, the 4 of them. And then I've sort of burst open the finger lime, because for people that aren't familiar with it, it's a uniquely Australian thing, the finger lime. And when you crack them open, it's essentially like a caviar, but it's lime, like a citrus. So you get this this nice counter flavor for the chili in there, and it was fantastic. It was
That sounds like Michelin star type. Yeah, that sounds good, man. And then that sounds awesome. So like a finger lime pasta with razor clams, like. Who would have thought, like an odd assortment of wicked items, very different, contrasting flavors. I would have put some Parmesan cheese over top of that as well, I reckon.
Yeah, I would too, 100%. Someone tried to tell me that I think putting Parmesan cheese on a seafood dish is like an Italian cardinal sin.
It is a cardinal sin. But I'll tell you another one that goes real good.
I'm like, I don't know, but I really like it. So... if I had something in my fridge, it would have went on there for sure.
I was around at Tim Nielsen's house one day. We were shooting some cooking videos for Adreno, and Tim Nielsen did carpaccio which is Italian sashimi essentially, and he added this really high-end Parmesan cheese to it. It's some of the best seafood I've ever eaten. It's so delightfully simple. I disagree that cheese does not go with seafood. I 100% disagree.
Yeah, I will die on that hill as well, I reckon. Don't knock it till you try it.
Go to aqualite.com.au and get yourself a box of sachets. You just simply add them to water. It's less than $1.28 per serve, cheaper and healthier than any other sports drinks on the market. Aqualite will make a difference in your spearfishing. Check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NOOBSPEARO to save 10% on any order. Check it out. Aqualite, made in Western Australia. Guys, listen here. I've got to tell you about the Cobb Grill. The main goodness, right? The Cobb Grill is a portable outdoor cooker which is suited to any outdoor activity, from the bush to the boat. The grills come in either charcoal or gas options, and they're super economical on fuel due to the fact that minimal heat escapes with the lid on. They're windproof even with the lid on. You can use it out on the boat even if it's blowing a bit, you know? Perfect for any outdoor adventure. Check it out at cobgrill.com.au. Use the code NOOBSPEARO10 to save 10%. It's a no-brainer, my friend. These are the best grills if you're an outdoors person. Check it out, cobgrill.com.au. Another massive part of the Killshot Spear Guns family is depth charge charters. They don't just make functional and simple, reliable spear guns. These guys also bring amazing freedive spearfishing charters to the waters around the Florida Keys, particularly around the reefs of Isla Morada. If you are looking to do a freediving course or get out on a spearfishing charter in that part of the world, check it out at killshotspearguns.com and check out depth charge charters. So good to chat about something unusual and less well known. So razor clams, and then, you know, it's just some different ways of thinking about food. I like that. I did want to talk with you about foraged mushrooms, because one of the other really cool things that I remembered that you had today was these cards, which essentially teach people how to forage again. I think, was it your wife that did some of the artwork?
Yeah. So Sarah, my wife, did all the artwork for the foraging cards.
Yeah.
And then we sort of put the little blurbs together, because we'll, you know, talk a little bit about what they are and what their uses are on the cards, where you can sort of, there's a little map of Australia there. It's got some highlighted areas you'll find them in. And
so if you guys want to have a look at what we're talking about, go to honkeoutdoors.com. The product is called Australian Nature Cards Pine Forest Edition. So obviously, like foraging in a pine forest type area, it's got these hand-drawn, really beautiful illustrations of what you're looking for, and they come in a ring binder, but they're these sort of hard plastic type cards. Have I got that right so far, Ben?
So they're not a hard plastic as such, but they are a waterproof material that's really flexible.
Okay.
So it's like, I can't remember what the type is, but yeah, it's like so your kids can take these things out and dunk them in a puddle, and you can just hose it off, and it's fine. Like, it's not going to rot, but it's not like really rigid plastic. Like if you wanted to put it in your pocket or something, like it's not going to be a big stiff thing in there. It's just, it'll bend and flex with you sort of thing as well.
So one of the other things with foraging, I think, for me as a sort of an outsider that's interested and would love to have a go, is it seems like there's an overwhelming amount. I like the fact there's 12 cards here that are really commonly found things, particularly in your part of the world, and obviously seasonally derived. Like you're not going to find them at all times, I'm sure. Ben, is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah, most, like with that pine forest one, most mushrooms in there, they're going to be an autumn thing.
Yeah.
And most of those, a lot of those species can be found northern and southern hemisphere. Like a lot of them are introduced from like the northern hemisphere, and they come in, I guess, and they deliberately inoculate the roots of radiata pines before they put them in plantation, because someone that's obviously a lot smarter than most of us did probably a PhD and worked out that having that mycelium network with these, what do you call it? I'll stuff the word up here, but it's mitochondrial. It's like the symbiotic relationship. So the mushroom and the tree benefit each other like that.
Yeah,
a lot of these mushrooms cannot live without the pine sort of tree, and they'll only really come off pine. So it sort of makes it a good intro to foraging, because as long as you go to essentially a pine plantation and you're finding something that's matching this description, you've already eliminated out a lot of possible lookalikes. Like if you were walking around in some native Australian bush and there's no pine trees around, you went, I think that's this. You can just rule it out straight away. It's not going to grow there unless it's with those pine trees.
There's a couple of reviews there. Thomas says the cards are very sturdy and also aesthetically pleasing to look at. They're very well done. James says, I use these cards all the time when I forage in the local forest. I'm new to foraging, so any help I can get to make accurate identifications of fungus is gratefully received. And they're just beautiful. I think for me, as someone looking on, I haven't had a go at it, but I love the idea of foraging my own mushrooms and then adding it to, an original seafood creation like that finger lime pasta with some foraged mushrooms would have just added even another element to it, like your own grown finger limes, you've caught your own razor clams, then you're foraging mushrooms, you're making your own sauce. It's like it's a real creative endeavor. Like it's an adventure, and it is fairly time intensive when you put it all together, but I don't know, it's a special thing too,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that it's not like you'd like to think like it's our sort of version of Michelin star, it's that taking pride in, I guess, what you find and
Yeah.
giving it the respect like the catch deserves. And I always find that's a big thing. Like if I can really create a good dish out of something you've foraged or shot or anything like that, it just gives you such an appreciation for life, I guess, in general. It's wholesome. It's good.
Well, it brings to mind that thing too. Like, we ages ago we talked about seaspiracy, because there's a proportion of the world that think that, we shouldn't hunt or fish or do anything really because we're killing things. If you have life and you're breathing, then you're killing something in order to be alive. So you just got to make sure that you live a life well lived. But the conscious taking of life in order to feed yourself and your family it's something that's kind of unique to what we do. I think some people like vegans, they think that we don't have that awareness, but like most of us actually really have that awareness, and we place special value on it, and that's why making meals like this, I don't know, it becomes like sort of putting it all together in one dish, and then there's a lot that goes into just food. There's some big ideas and some big concepts. I love it. And it seems like you do too. And I think Hohnke Outdoors has definitely got that in spades. It's just reconnecting people with the natural world. I love it. Anyway, dish number 5. It's another ramen dish. Ramen with whiting and your own foraged hedgehog mushrooms. Walk me through that.
Yeah, okay. So this was actually the first time I ever cooked ramen from scratch. And I'd had a big Ziploc bag of fish heads and frames from, I think I had flathead and goatfish frames in there from spearfishing, and I think a couple of flathead I'd caught fly fishing or something as well. But I just sort of kept all the frames and gone, I'm going to make ramen broth with this. And I was sort of in denial about it for ages. I'm like, you're never going to do this. You should just get rid of them. No, I'm going to do it. And then remember I went out with a guy, Ben Hohnke. He's a guy from, I think he's from around Dubbo. So he's another one of these regional Spearo frothers. And he'd come down here on a family holiday and we'd met up and actually took me out in his jet ski, which was pretty cool. And I bagged my first goatfish that day, which I've been chasing on them for so long. I missed so many shots on them. So finally get that off my back was just huge relief. And so I'd thrown that into his jet ski. And then just as we were about to leave, he'd sort of anchored up on this little sandy bay. And I was just sort of ducked down just for one last look around, because I always try to do one last look around before I get out, because I hate unloading my gun. I'd rather put the spear through something to end the day.
Yeah.
And I dove down. It was only like 2 meters of water, laid on the sandy bottom. And then this big school of whiting just appeared in front of me. I was like, oh, you beauty. Took a shot at the biggest one, nailed it straight up, stone shot it, threw that in. And so then obviously I've got the frames from the whiting, the goatfish. And the only fish protein I had left in the freezer was the whiting fillets. And so I'd been out for a bike ride that day after work in one of my training things for this 24-hour thing. And at the top of the hill, it had rained a few days before. I spotted some white mushrooms on the side of the track. And even though I was training, I'll always stop to look at mushrooms. It's just something I'm going to do. So I pulled over, pulled them out of the ground, looked underneath, and they're a very distinct mushroom, these hedgehog mushrooms, because they've got essentially dangling teeth underneath. So straight away, it's like, yep, it's the right time of year. It's got all the features I'm looking for. I picked all of them I could find and stuffed them down the back of my riding shirt and continued on with my training ride. And then when I got back, I threw the fish frames into a pot, put some water in there, started to simmer that up, and I've been into an Asian shop and bought like a Chinese spice mix type thing. So I had bits of everything in there. It's like coriander seeds, star anise, chili, ginger, bamboo shoots, just all this different spice variety. And I sort of lightly toasted that and then threw that in with the fish frames while they boiled up.
Nice.
And then once I sort of got that rendered down or drained out through like a strainer and obviously into another container, you don't want to tip this down the sink while you're straining it. It's a hot tip. I sort of collected that. Then I've cooked the ramen fresh. I've fried up the hedgehog mushrooms, and then I've just lightly seasoned the whiting fillets with a bit of Salt Bay, and then put that dish together with some fresh spring onion as well. And that was really good. And that was the first time I'd ever had not just packet ramen from like I'd never been out to a ramen place or anything and really knew what to expect. I was like, oh man, this is pretty good. I'm like,
it's a couple of levels up on the packet
thinking,
stuff.
I was like, oh man, imagine how good like the proper ramen places are. I've got to try one. And then so next time I was back home, it was the middle of winter and in Tamworth, and there was a ramen place in town, and I ordered some ramen from there and had like really high expectations, and I was just a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest. It just didn't have the same flavour that this, I guess it's just that fresh fish broth and the fresh mushrooms and the fresh fish. That's going to be hard for anyone to beat, I think.
I reckon making your own stock is something I haven't delved into either, but it's something I really want to do. I even bought a big 20-litre pot. And, it's good for cooking crays and stuff if you want to parboil them before you fry them or, things like that. But also octopus or, but doing your own broth or your own stock with old frames seems like a no-brainer to me. It's just another one of those activities. It's a little bit time intensive, and I always make excuses. It just doesn't get prioritized high enough. But sometimes these things you've got to put an afternoon aside. And make, if you've got an afternoon off, that's all you're sort of committing to in the afternoon, then just relax. I think everyone would enjoy that.
And to be honest, I think it took an hour to do.
Okay.
It wasn't because it doesn't take as long. I think stock can take a while if you're doing it from, say, like a red meat animal, like a deer or something like that, and turkeys. I think those stocks can take a while because it takes ages for the bones to break down and give up all the good stuff out of them.
Yeah.
Or your collagens and things like that. But the fish, I think I was reading on Hank Shaw's website.
Who's Hank Shaw?
Max of about an hour. He's an American guy. He's featured on Meat Eater a few times. He runs a website. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. It's but if you type in Hank Shaw, you'll find his website. He's got hundreds and hundreds of wild game and fish recipes, written a couple of books, but he's very, outdoor focused guy.
Okay.
Just loves to get out and essentially do what we do, like, grow, cook, gather.
Yeah, righto. What's
all the ingredients? But
how do you spell his name? Is it Shaul?
Hank Shaw, so it's SHAW.
Oh, righto. Wild game. Okay, I'm having a look. Oh, yeah, okay. So it's like the hunter, angler, gardener, cook or something. There's one up here, honest-food.net or something.
That's the one. Yeah, I was trying to think of the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Hank Shaw. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good resource for anyone getting into wild game or even some fish cooking. Like he's got some good recipes, all Northern Hemisphere stuff. But
how good is Meat Eater though? We need a Southern Hemisphere version. I just it'd be cool to see them expand down this way. Like they're just wicked guys. I love what they do.
Yeah, same here. It's just And they were like pivotal for me getting into even spearfishing. Is sort of like just seeing those different options for different things you can do outdoors and different ways of collecting, food.
I've read a couple of Steve Rinella's books too. Like they've obviously got like there's a whole host of personalities on there now, but Steve Rinella too. Like he's been inspirational for me, and trying to bring some of the way that they've done things into the NOOBSPEARO has been pretty important too. Even 99 Spearo Recipes was partly inspired, I guess, by those guys. So awesome. Yep. Ben, I've had a pleasure chatting. We are running out of time. 5 seafood recipes, guys. I hope you enjoyed Ben's take on them today. Check out show notes today. Go to noobspearo.com/honke2, HOHNKE2, the number 2. And then also, guys, if you want to go and have a look at honkeoutdoors.com, the magic stuff, use the code NOOBSPEARO, save 20%. A few years ago, I discovered hot smoking fish. Now, it is a game changer, particularly for those maybe oily or fatty fish that are maybe considered a little bit trash. You've got to get into hot smoking. I tell you, if you do want to try it, there is a guide to do that in 99 Spearo Recipes. I tell you what goes even better with your brine, with the hot smoke, it's Salt Bae. I tell you what, any of the Honke Outdoors shakers will see you right and add just that extra layer of subtle goodness to your brine. Salt Bae, squealer, or double shot all work on smoked fish. Check them out at honkeoutdoors.com, HOHNKE outdoors.com. I love hot smoked fish. Honkeoutdoors.com have helped me to do it better, and I know it's going to up your brine game as well, and you're supporting an Australian-made family business that makes small batch spice rubs for people like you and me. Check it out at honkeoutdoors.com, HOHNKE outdoors.com. Use the code NOOBSPEARO to save 20%. Upgrade your seafood game with honkeoutdoors.com. Check it out. I consulted a bunch of legends to help me put together this program, including Adam Stern, Australian freediving legend, Jared Rosenberg from Earth and Ocean Fit, and Dr. Jaap Verbaas, author of Longer and Deeper, as well as a bunch of others to help me put together a 50-day program that will get you results. And I know it works. We've put a bunch of groups through this now, and people have seen huge improvements and landed on a charter or a trip and actually been able to tap into some of their best spearfishing fitness. Check it out at noobspearo.com/spearready. Jump in a 50-day program to make the most. If you are 2 months out from that trip of a lifetime, let me encourage you, get spear ready. Go to noobspearo.com/spear ready. If you would like to be part of a NOOBSPEARO charter, trip, or course, go and register your interest at spearfishingcourses.com.au/interested. Ben and I just concepted this up. He's actually going to unleash a Spearo pack. So you can get a copy of 99 Spearo Recipes, a 250-gram Salt Bae shaker, and a 50-gram squealer sort of a adventure pack. Basically, you can use the squealer even with smoking fish, but obviously perfect for sort of smaller game, poultry, particularly chicken or pork, I guess. But Ben, anything else you wanted to add, mate?
No, so I'm just stoked to do this partnership. I've just always been looking for a way to give back to this show because I guess I've learned a lot of stuff from listening to this over the years in my NOOBSPEARO journey, and I feel like it's accelerated my learning, especially living a long way away from the water for so long and not being able to get out in the ocean every week. Hearing from people that are and piecing those bits together has been, it's just helped the growth dramatically. Obviously, nothing's as good as time in the water, and that's what I've found since I've been living at the coast and being able to get out far more often. It hasn't helped that the last 12 months have probably been some of the wettest on record. I think over winter, when I was getting really keen to get out and get some crays, like get my first cray, I think we had like 600 mil of rain or something.
Oh.
So everything was just like poo brown viz for months on end. I don't think I got out from sometime in February till nearly August, I think, was how long I was out of the waterfalls. And I remember thinking I've moved down here to the coast and, thinking I'm going to get out all the time. And I've probably been spearing this year as many times as I would if I'd lived in Tamworth anyways. So.
Well, massive thanks to the Bureau of Meteorology here in Australia. They predicted zero rain, I think, for the next 12 months, and we've experienced some of the highest rainfall on record. There's a sort of a backyard farmer's meteorologist. His name is Inigo Jones. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's the farmer's weatherman. Tim McDonald put me onto this guy recently. Very, very interesting, controversial way of weather forecasting. But he predicted a lot of this weather that we've experienced. And I wanted to add one other thing. Big rainfall like this can be really good for some of the fisheries, like in terms of recruitment. And so we could see a bit of a boon from all of this wet weather in the years to come. I'm hoping, because it's so good to see our fisheries firing. And obviously that's something that you're passionate about too, Ben. Given the fact that, you are all about reconnecting with the outdoors, obviously spearfishing and hunting, it's such a sustainable way to, I don't know, just to go about life. It's cool. I get that vicarious sense of it from you. You inspire me to want to spend more time in the garden, more time hunting, more time with the kids outdoors, and making wicked dishes for the family,
Yeah. Yeah, and it's something that, I guess social media is good for that, and it looks like, it can always look like you get a bit of a highlight reel. It can look like we're out here doing this all the time, but, sometimes we are just a normal family and we're just buying food from the grocery store. I'd like to not do that, but it's a necessary evil sometimes. It's just, you get your crap viz, or the wind's too up for fishing in general, or you don't get anything when you go hunting. It's just sort of part of life. And I guess unless you want to starve on the hill, then you sort of have to go buy stuff. But having said that, our spice range as well, our double shot's excellent on beef steaks as it is on venison and other red meats, and turkey, things like that. The squeal is really good, chicken, pork, as it is.
Nice.
It's on the small game, and there's nothing wrong with putting a bit of Salt Bay on some fish from the co-op if that's what it comes down to. Hey? So.
Oh, mate, I think it's honest of you and transparent to sort of say it. I honestly think if you can create a few real meaningful experiences, every year for your family around food, particularly kids, they can, those pivotal, they can become pivotal memories for them, and really shape the way that they think and view the world. So awesome, Ben. Hats off to you, mate. You're an absolute legend. Again, guys, go to Hohnke Outdoors. Use the code NOOBSPEARO if you want to check out any of the stuff we've discussed today. It obviously sounds like a big wraps on the Salt Bay. Get yourself a shaker and have a bit of a play around in the kitchen, trying to make something new for your friends and family. There's a real joy about it, and I hope you've enjoyed today's episode with Ben. Always a pleasure to catch up, mate.
Yeah, thank you, Shrek. Thanks for having me.
Hey, legends. Hope you enjoyed Ben's mouth-watering goodness today. Those 5 recipes definitely made me hungry, made me feel like having dinner all of a sudden a lot quicker. Again, go to Hohnke Outdoors as well. Check out all that they have. Ben and his family are absolutely artists. They are connoisseurs of this stuff, and Hohnke Outdoors is doing great things. I love putting their stuff on my smoked fish, and that's just one of the many ways you can use it as well. Check it out. It's super cool to have them aboard as well as partners of the NOOBSPEARO podcast. Talking about partners, the Patreon legends putting fuel in the outboard month on month. Much appreciated. Muchas gracias. Go to patreon.com/NOOBSPEARO. If you are interested in supporting the podcast, you can do so for as little as $3 a month. There's a bunch of wicked benefits there for our patrons. The legends putting fuel in the NOOBSPEARO outboard week on week. Check that out. Hey, last call for this episode too. Go to spearfishingcourses.com.au and jump on the Whitsundays Sail and Spear trip. Check that thing out. It's a super cool trip. We've got 2 back-to-back in August. If you are in one of the southern states of Australia, maybe New Zealand, or you're in another. I've had a few inquiries come out of the US this year. If you are interested, I would really, really encourage you. Go and check it out at spearfishingcourses.com.au. We've sold more than half of the spots, but there's still about, I think, 15 spots left. So go check that out, spearfishingcourses.com.au. Be great to fill the boat with frothers like you, people that have geeked out on the podcast for a little while. Hey, next week's episode is an absolute boomer. It's Patrick Ryan, Deepwater Dreaming on Instagram. We've been circling for years over the messages, and I really wanted to get Patrick on the podcast. He's traveled to more than 80 countries, spearfishing many of them, and he has adventures and tales to tell. Very cool guy and a very good conversation. So come back in a week's time for Deep Water Dreaming with Patrick Ryan. I'll see you then. Hey guys, this episode brought to you by Astard Roller Pole Spears. Astard is a brand rooted in craftsmanship and tradition, inspired by the Japanese freedivers, the Ama. Their logo, a hand-drawn star, symbolizes starting from a single point, exploring and returning safely, capturing the essence of their journey and design philosophy. Founded by Adam, who spent 15 years in southern Japan, but originally from West Australia. He has a background in aviation, digital, and photography. And him and his lifelong friend Kim, and a mechanical genius herself, founded Astard, which embodies a passion for quality, innovation, and versatility. Check them out at astard.co. They have a roller pole spear that will make your head spin. I'll give you the hot tip. Check it out at astard.co. Use the code NOOBSPEARO. Have free shipping anywhere on the planet. You can't get any better than that. Go to astard.co. Check out their roller pole spear. You need one in your arsenal today. Check it out. Use the code NOOBSPEARO for free shipping anywhere in the world. Some days when you've maybe shot those 4 or 5 fish that you came for, might be time to pull out the pole spear, jump back in and rediscover that passion and learning that you had right at the start of your journey. This is one of the best tools for becoming a better hunter. Check it out, astard.co. Are you US based, looking for freediving, spearfishing gear? Neptonics is the best. Their online website, so easy to use. If you've got any questions, Jerry and the team answer questions via phone, email. Anyway, they've got an easy contact form on the site. These guys are absolute legends, and if they sell it, they believe in it, they back it, they use it themselves. It's tough gear that works. Visit neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to save 10% on any order at neptonics.com. That's right, use the code NOOB10, N-O-O-B 10 on your next order. Save 10% at neptonics.com. Today's NOOBSPEARO podcast is brought to you in partnership with Adreno. Live it, breathe it with the world's largest dive store. Huge range of equipment, always growing, always changing. They are the world's largest dive store. They are available just about everywhere. They have hassle-free returns, massive range of equipment, price match guarantee, and you can check them out online. You can even use the code NOOBSPEARO to save $20 on every purchase over $200 at adreno.com.au. Check them out. Boom.